That was weird. Oh well.
Is it true that Darwin sacrificed himself out of love to be able to live with Carrie in the afterlife and marry her? The future of the characters from the amazing world of Gumball was completely unveiled in the show The Amazing Future of Gumball, and one of the biggest surprises of all is that now Darwin has become a ghost. But how did this happen? Did he really want to become a ghost to be with Carrie?
Darwin? She dropped her button. Oh boy.
Is that why he has so many children now? We're going to tell you all about it and more right now. If you know someone who has watched The Amazing World of Gumball and didn't like it, be skeptical of that person because without a doubt, this is one of the best cartoons in human history. And when the sixth and final season was released in 2019 without a conclusive ending, with Rob being launched into the void once again, many questions remain unanswered.
Oh no, it started.
One of the things that stayed in the minds of us, the fans, was what would happen next. For this reason, the channel @AI independently created the continuation of The Amazing World of Gumball, set 24 years in the future, primarily focusing on the next generation of Elmore. But one of the most intriguing things isn't exactly about the new characters, who are the children of the characters we knew in the original show, but rather how Darwin exactly became a ghost and married Carrie, and had 8 children? It all happened between 11 and 13 years before the start of the story in The Amazing Future of Gumball, and in reality, Darwin didn't plan to die, even though he loved Carrie deeply. But what actually happened was that Gumball accidentally poisoned his brother, and he ended up moving on to a better, or worse, place. At that time, Darwin and Gumball were each around 20 to 22 years old, so they were already adults. Do you remember that there was a potion that could turn someone into a ghost in the original show?
Why are we whispering in an empty house?
Oh, just drink some of this potion and you'll see. It'll make you part ghost, but no more than a drop, understand?
What actually happened was that Gumball accidentally gave poison to Darwin instead of the potion, and that's when Darwin met his end. Carrie then performed a ritual and promised the Wattersons family that she would bring Darwin back. She fulfilled her promise, but not in the way everyone expected, but by bringing him back as a ghost, just like herself. After Darwin returned as a ghost, he could finally be with Carrie and they got married, having nothing less than 8 children. Among them is Sally, who is the adventure partner of Zach, Gumball and Penny's son, and they form the main duo of this new fan-created show, with a story almost as good as the original. And it's precisely now that a question arises about how all of this happened. First, let's agree that Darwin's death may, and indeed was, an extremely tragic event for his entire family. But the detail is that anyone who might have already known this incredible story created by @AI might believe that Gumball wasn't actually to blame for Darwin's death. I mean, yes, he gave him the potion, and only after that did Darwin pass away. But could someone have intentionally switched the potion for a poison, knowing that Gumball was too naive to check what would end up killing poor Darwin? All these possibilities gain strength, especially when we look at the people involved and who benefited from Darwin becoming a ghost. If we stop to think, the truth is that all this was quite convenient for one person, Carrie herself. And this becomes very evident when the whole family is at the cemetery mourning Darwin's death, and Carrie calmly states that she would bring him back as if it were something normal, as if it were something she had been expecting to happen. To explore this further, let's consider some facts and information we obtained from episodes of The Amazing World of Gumball. One of them is that in the episode The Ghouls, the 25th episode of the 6th season, we discover that Carrie is actually over 300 years old. And why is that important? It gives her profound knowledge of rituals, like the one she used to bring Darwin back as a ghost. But not only that, she also knows about potions that can turn someone into a ghost and poisons that can easily resemble the ghostly potion, right? Another thing is that Carrie had a previous family-related experience involving someone she loved but couldn't touch because he was a physical being, her own father. This happened in the episode The Mirror, the 4th episode of the 3rd season, which you've probably seen. The one where Gumball refuses to forward an email chain and ends up being haunted by Take Everything, an evil spirit that resides in mirrors and begins to haunt Gumball, even kidnapping the Wattersons as revenge for not forwarding his email. In this episode, Carrie reveals that Take Everything is actually her father, who was a regular man and fell in love with a ghost, Carrie's mother, which is why he couldn't touch her. Interestingly, Carrie's mother doesn't appear in any of the Gumball episodes, but we see her along with her husband in this new Gumball series to meet their grandchildren. To resolve this situation, he uses the forbidden book to finally be able to touch and kiss his beloved. But as a consequence, he ends up living a lonely life as a spirit inside mirrors. At the end of the episode, Carrie helps reverse the curse and frees her father, who is actually a man named Vladis. But when they rush to hug each other, he passes through Carrie because she's a ghost and ends up falling and dying. A crazy twist in the style of the amazing world of Gumball.
Is he okay?
But after he dies, he becomes a ghost and can finally embrace his daughter. The connection between all of this and Darwin becoming a ghost is that the same forbidden ritual book that Vlad used to finally touch Carrie's mother was exactly the same forbidden book of rituals that Carrie used to bring Darwin back as a ghost. Another thing Carrie realized in the episode was that the only way she could have a relationship with someone she loved was if that person became a ghost, because she herself couldn't become a mortal, but a mortal could become a ghost, just like what happened with her father. This is evident in the episode The Ghost, the 12th episode of the first season, where Carrie asks Gumball to lend her his body so she could eat, proving that she can only borrow other people's bodies, but she can't have a physical body herself. Everything we've talked about so far are facts that make sense, but now there's another theory that could reinforce the idea that Darwin's death was premeditated by Carrie herself so that they could be together. Probably one of the conditions for bringing someone back as a ghost is that the person must suffer an accidental death, just like what happened with Vladis, Carrie's father. This means that the person or the accident that causes the death must do so unintentionally. This suggests that Carrie herself couldn't poison Darwin, which wouldn't work, so she might have induced poor Gumball to make the biggest mistake of his life, resulting in the poisoning and the scenario that Carrie needed to do what she wanted most: marry Darwin. And as a result of this love that was once impossible, there are now 8 ghostly children, showing that Carrie now has everything she ever wanted. And, let's admit, despite making the family very sad at the beginning, it seems that Darwin himself enjoys being a ghost and has accepted all of this quite well, wouldn't you say? And in addition to all of this, now Nicole and Richard are grandparents and have 10 grandchildren, the 2 children of Gumball and Penny, Zach and Emmy, and the true ghostly clan of Darwin and Carrie. Folks, if all of this is true and confirmed by @AISlep, it will explain a lot and definitely relieve some of the blame from Gumball, who, although he did kill Darwin, wasn't directly responsible for what happened. The fact is that Gumball and Darwin as adults have learned to deal with this situation. And since Darwin can't always be seen, Gumball uses Darwin to gather information at work when he's invisible to get raises at the factory he works at. And they split this higher salary since Darwin can't work as he's a ghost. But surely this is still something we'll understand more about as new segments of this super cool show are released, because we hope that @AISlep will create many more and finally confirm whether this theory is true or not, because we really want to know. It all makes perfect sense. That's exactly what happened to Darwin in the amazing future of Gumball, which will always be a very cool show, even though it's made by a super talented fan. And since we know you enjoy cool videos, we've picked out these 2 options that are appearing on your screen right now. Choose any of them without hesitation, because you're sure to have a blast.